Mr. Andrew Gwynne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I start by thanking the Secretary of State for the advance sight of his oral statement and for bringing to the House a much-awaited response to the sorry crisis in one of his own party's councils. The best value inspection of Northamptonshire Council of the 15th of March makes very sorry reading, and it is an indictment of mismanagement locally, but also of 8 years of intransigence and austerity nationally. The Secretary of State will know that Northamptonshire's problems have been building over a number of years, and yet the Council bragged about its pioneering approach to council services, basically running them as a business, operating almost like a PLC, according to the former Chief Executive. And it didn't take long before it became clear that just like the public sector, the private sector cannot deliver adequate services when there is still too little funding. In 2015, the Local Government Association warned that forcing councils to spend reserves to plug funding gaps, something that his predecessor, Sir Eric Pickles, used to demand of all councils, would be a reckless gamble and would put local communities on the fast track to financial failure. And then, back in September last year, the LGA conducted, as we've heard, a financial peer review, warning that Northamptonshire would be the first to collapse. Now, I'm not sure whether the Secretary of State had read this report, as he was soon cutting the ribbon on the £53 million new headquarters, as the authority was preparing the paperwork to declare itself bankrupt. Worse, the Local Government Chronicle has now suggested that there are already at least 10 other authorities preparing to issue Section 114 notices, and now the National Audit Office, Mr. Speaker, has warned that 1 in 10 councils with social care obligations will have exhausted their reserves within the next 3 years. So can the Secretary of State tell the House what contingency arrangements have been put in place should other authorities follow Northamptonshire over the cliff edge? Now, I hope the Government will learn from the failure in Northamptonshire. Even now, we are still learning more, finding out just this week that the ex-Chief Executive was paid more than £1,000 a day whilst people were losing their jobs and services. That's why, Mr. Speaker, it is so crucial for commissioners to be sent in. These problems at Northamptonshire are so deep-seated that the residents of the county should not expect more of the same mismanagement from the Tory councillors that have driven it into the ground. Now, he says he's minded to appoint commissioners, and this is something that the Labour Party has been calling for some time. Can he give a timescale for when he will make a formal decision? And how soon does he expect, should he decide to appoint commissioners, that they will be in place following that decision? Does he expect that their remit will be as extensive as that recommended in the report? If he does, he will have our full support. On the budget, it is clear that Northamptonshire's problems continue. Creative accounting may have got the county through the year end and through budget setting for 2018-19, but Northamptonshire's finances remain in a precarious state, and the principal pressures in children's and adult services remain serious issues for the authority moving forward. What certainty does the Secretary of State have in Northamptonshire being able to meet those cost pressures in the new financial year without additional central government resource? What level of direct budget monitoring will be taking place by his officials in the ministry throughout the year, and will he be recommending that Northamptonshire undertakes additional in-year budget setting exercises should they need to? On reorganisation, we give a cautious welcome to the reorganisation of local government in Northamptonshire, but changing lines on a map does not in itself resolve the deep-seated problems facing local government. In asking Northamptonshire's councils to make suggestions to him, does he agree that any proposals for new councils must have the widest possible degree of consent from the communities they seek to represent? What resources will be made available to the new authorities to start them off on a sustainable footing? Does he envisage a Northamptonshire residuary body that will be established to take on the historic problems associated with the county's finances so that the new councils can start with a clean slate? And what assessment has he made of the financial capability of unitaries to be able to run the functions of local government in Northamptonshire? Mr Speaker, Northamptonshire is the first, but it will not be the last. Given the National Audit Office and the Local Government Chronicle's assessments that other councils will follow Northamptonshire in the coming years, what assessment is the Secretary of State making, and what resource is he going to make available to ensure that does not happen? Because this is what happens when a government has created a £5.8 billion gap in local government funding, when everyone is saying that social care is on its knees, and when children's services need an additional £2 billion. Local government, Mr Speaker, cannot be allowed to collapse on this government's watch.